G'day legends, today we are going to be looking at how to create your first photography book. I'm super excited about it because I've never created a book before. I've got a special guest on named Jasmine Skye, and she does amazing underwater portraits, and I'm stoked to get started. But before we do, I'll just introduce myself to those that don't know me. My name is Tom Woods. I've been a professional photographer since 2004. I got my first paycheck in a surfing magazine in 2001 when I shot a water photo, and I've been hooked on water photography ever since. And water photography has been a big part of my personal photography, but also my commercial photography for the last 24 years or so. Today, like I said, we've got Jasmine Skye, and she's a Perth photographer that has been shooting in the water since, I believe, 2016, but we'll find out more about that in a second. And she has just produced her first photography book on water portraits, and I've seen a few of the photos from it, and they're simply stunning. So let's bring in Jasmine Skye. Hello, Jazz.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Going great. I'm going great. Having a great day today. I'm stoked to be talking to you about this. I'm super interested in a couple of the photos that you've taken underwater, which we'll show soon. And I'm also really interested to see how to produce your first book. So we'll get into that in a second. But to start with, I'd like to I always like to see how people got started with photography and, how that process was for you. When did you first, fall in love with photography or get a camera to start with? And when did you then progress to water photography?
Yeah, sure. So I was a nurse, first of all, and I was on maternity leave, and I had recently moved to Perth. I didn't have a lot of friends around, and I needed a hobby. So I started taking photos of my little boy and just basically got hooked. We did get photos of him done, and they were a little bit awkward with babies. And I was a pediatric nurse, so I was like, this is perfect. I could take photos of babies, and I just got to teach myself how to take photos properly because I was, in auto. And so off I went to TAFE for a night course, and I just was obsessed. I was watching like YouTube videos. I kind of joked that I went to the University of Creative Life because I was just like hungry for everything that was on there. And I just kind of, I don't even know why I thought it was a good idea to start a business. I had no idea about business or anything like that, but I just was obsessed with talking to people and taking their photos. Obviously being a pediatric nurse, the family, maternity, newborn sort of side of things was a really natural progression for me. And then I sort of started weddings as well. I really came to underwater photography when I had been working as a photographer for, I think I'd been a photographer for about 4 years by that point, and I was in a bit of a state of burnout. My personal life was kind of going to shit. I was going through a separation from my husband, and my photography business was going quite well, but I wasn't loving it. Like the work was very much what I thought everyone else wanted, and I was creatively very like in a bit of a funky state, I guess you could say.
No.
My best friend at the time was having her first baby, and I had this crazy idea that I was going to hire an underwater housing and do a shoot, and we spent 3 hours in Brunswick River. And I'm so glad she didn't have her baby that night because like we're both exhausted. But it was like I was absolutely cooked. It was the most challenging shoot I'd ever done, and I just was so excited to edit the photos. It was kind of like that you just don't know what you're going to end up with, and it was like that spark had come back a little bit, and from then I went on to buy my own housing, and it was really interesting. I kind of kept it to myself a little bit initially because I guess I didn't want that pressure from clients to dictate what I had to do. or produce. And I guess because the underwater world is so unpredictable, it can be a little bit challenging to have that consistency. So I was a bit worried about that as well. But I guess I just wanted something for me. So for quite a few years, I kind of just shot for fun and creative stuff on the side of my work. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, what am I doing? This is like my absolute passion. I need to do this more. And I just kind of got out of my own way, I guess, and made it more of a thing in my offering to clients. And yeah, so about 18 months ago was when I decided I was going to go all in and try and pull this book project together. And the whole aim was to, have a reason to shoot lots of underwater portraits and create a beautiful book at the end of it. So yeah, that's kind of where that drive came from. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you just jumped in, like didn't even buy a housing, just hired a housing. Was that right? And
yeah, initially, yeah, I got very lucky. I got very lucky that I managed to hire one.
It's like it was just supposed to be fate. Sometimes it is just good to just jump in and if you know it's right, you know it's right. And it came off for you, and I love how you've progressed through all the gears to get to where you are. You've taken risks as well. It's not easy. Like when you've got consistent clients, like, wedding and portrait clients that you can get and you can produce a result. It's sometimes human nature to stay in that comfort zone and know that you're going to get paid, know you can produce a great result every single time once you've done it for a few years. And I think, myself included, at times, it's easier to stay in that comfort zone and just keep producing what you can.
Absolutely.
It's so rewarding. It's good to, step outside that and not be afraid to fail, because if you are considering getting into water photography, you will fail. And you will fail 20 years down the track as well. So it's a learning process. And, I've had housings for like 23 years and been shooting in the water, and every single time I learn something. It's like a little 1%er nearly every time I go out. So that's what I love about water photography. So I think it might be a passion that will last you a lot longer than maybe just general portrait and wedding photography goes, because there's so much you can do and there's so much that's untapped with it. So yeah, super cool to hear your story and your journey with that. Okay, so just to give this context, I really want to share a couple of Jazz's pictures here. I've picked this one as a super intriguing picture to start off with. So Jazz, maybe you can tell us a little bit about this photo, where it was taken, what you used. Yeah, just anything of points of interest, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So this particular shoot was in a pool, and I think it was mid-morning-ish time, but because of the house shadow, it wasn't too harsh. Yeah, I guess this is kind of like an everyday client shoot for me. So maternity clients come to me a lot, and I think for this shoot, I had literally saw these ferns on the side of the road, and I just stopped my car and grabbed them, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but because I was doing so many shoots, I kind of was trying to keep it interesting for myself, and there was very much an undercurrent of like a growth theme. So I was kind of like, and I'm a bit obsessed with plants. So I was like, let's just play with these, see what they look like. And yeah, I think it just kind of gives them something to play with and do, and the light through them was really cool.
Such a stunning shot. I really like it, like the ferns in it. Like, I didn't know whether this was I love the fact that I didn't know. I was going to guess that it wasn't in a pool, but it's so cool that it was in a pool because you made it look like it wasn't.
Wow,
if you know what I mean.
I thought the line underneath it kind of gave it away that it was a pool, but
yeah, true. I'm looking at that now, and it's like, but I was just like, I love the rays, the backlighting rays. They're just always just a winner for me. It's cool that this is an everyday client and not someone that's like not an underwater model. If there is.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, in terms of people in the book, they were pretty much everyday people that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, some had never done a photo shoot before ever.
Yeah, that's incredibly tough because I know how tough it is to float yourself or sink yourself, more to the point, underwater and then hold a good posture. It's a real talent. And if you've been able to do that with people that have only done it for the first time and, get a good pose like this one, that's a really admirable thing. So what lens, like for the tech heads, we are shooting in you use Aquatech housings, yeah?
I use a Edge Acrotech housing, and I've got the 15 to 35 RF lens.
R5 camera?
The R6.
R6, cool, yeah, perfect,
Yeah.
really good. I use the 15 to 35 and it's definitely the best wide angle that I've used. I think going under the water is better to use a wide angle. Like that's not generally a lens that you use above the surface for portrait photography. It's not a go-to lens, but underwater it's definitely a better lens because you can get close to your subject, shoot through that less of that atmosphere, and everything magnifies under there as well. So that's another thing to consider, and that's why. Is that a lens that you're mostly using for your underwater stuff?
Pretty much all I use now, yeah. So I used to have a 24 to 70, but since I got this lens, it literally has not come off my camera, so I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Goes well. It's super clean, really clear shot. I love it. Yeah, so let's just go to one more before we start talking about the book. This black and white shot is really beautiful. I love the way that she's been able to pose, like sitting at the bottom is like I said before, that's not easy to do.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, tell us about this photo, or tell us about how you get the model in a position like this at the bottom of the pool, because naturally we're quite buoyant.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. So we always start the shoot like doing different things, and it's kind of almost like an assessment for what they are capable of, because these are people that haven't done shoots before. They're not underwater models. I have worked with underwater models, and the difference is like paramount. So this is an everyday person. She actually did do my underwater workshop a couple of years ago. So I think she did have the insight of what was required more than maybe the average person. But she was so determined to, like, she had this idea in her head that she wanted to sit on the bottom, and she was very determined. And I think that's kind of what you need for a successful underwater shoot, is like, if the person is on board to like get uncomfortable and like, it's quite repetitious. Like we try things over and over, and we'll come up and we go, okay, try this bit. And it's kind of almost like feeding prompts to them to kind of get that successful shot at the end. And just knowing that you're not going to get it in the first shot ever. So yeah, it's kind of like a process. But yeah, she was literally just sinking down. She doesn't have a weight belt on at all. She just was really good at sinking. I've noticed that there's two types of people. There's sinkers and floaters. And she found it quite easy to get down. So that, yeah.
Were you instructing her to breathe her air out?
Yeah. So yeah. And it's interesting because I've done a free diving course, and obviously you're supposed to hold on to the air, but like you're using weight belts and flippers then too. So this is kind of a different scenario. You have to dump out. I sort of suggest dumping out at least half your air just to get down. And I kind of find deeper water is much easier to sink down. So I often shoot in quite shallow pools, and it makes it actually significantly harder to stay down. Whereas this pool it had a little bit of depth, so it made it a little bit easier, I think, for her.
And when you're doing these shoots, is it just you, or have you got some sort of assistant? I'm just looking at these, the way that the fabric is perfectly designed, and thinking if someone's swimming under there and like, flowing that out and then getting out of the shot, or...
Yeah, that particular shoot, I didn't have an assistant. That was me and my client. So yeah, that's most of the time it is literally just like throwing it and then chicken back, and yeah, it's a lot of hit and miss, put it that way.
Cool. All right. So some of those images I'm assuming may make the book. We'll have to see when they come out, but you said 18 months ago that you decided to start this process of making a book. So I love how you said by setting a goal like making a book, you producing a book, it inspired you to do more shooting. I think that's something that could work for a lot of us. It definitely would work for me. If I had a purpose that I said, like in a year and a half, I'm going to produce a book, well, I'd make sure that I'd chip away at that every week, every month, every day if I had to. I just love how that you've used this book as a way to, create your work and keep yourself accountable. And was that one of the reasons behind the book?
I think definitely. I'm not usually a planner. I'm very much off the cuff kind of go with the flow kind of person. So
I saw that intuition before with your, getting the palm fronds off the side of the road.
That was just planned.
Just working on intuition. Sorry to interrupt though, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think definitely this was something that needed lots of planning, and having that clear goal has shown me that then it actually happens, because I had a really limited schedule, and just to even fit in the amount of shoots that I wanted to have in the book, it took quite a lot of time to work out how that was even going to happen, and that nearly stopped me doing the whole project, because I just was over summer in Perth it's quite cold over the cooler months, and it really doesn't warm up until December. So I was kind of like, how am I even going to make this work? It meant that some weeks I had to do I think I did 9 underwater shoots in 1 week, just to fit it in, which is insane. I don't even physically know how I did that, but I think it's just because I was like, well, that's when it's going to have to happen, because that's when I've got the time, and no normal person would do that. But when you've got that goal, you just you got your eye on the prize of this is going to happen whichever way it has to, and it did because of that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. So take us back to 18 months ago. I suppose gathering the body of work was where you started, really, wasn't it? Is that right?
Well, it was kind of getting the commitment from the people I was photographing. So initially I put the call out to be like, I'm going to do a book, who wants to be in, kind of thing. And it was it was kind of a low entry to be a part of the book. It was $100, and that gives them a book as well, which is crazy. And it was kind of a way to get them to commit to the shoot, and then I would photograph them, and then they could buy the photos if they wanted to. So there was no guarantee that I was making money from it, but there was a chance that I could. But the bigger picture was that I was going to have this incredible portfolio of work, and the growth from obviously photographing that many people in such a short amount of time. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool. So you only charged them $100 for the shoot, and then if they wanted, which is far less than what you'd normally charge, obviously. But they're helping you out as being a model for your project.
Absolutely.
But then were you saying that you sold them prints if they wanted to? So you could recoup some of that.
Absolutely. So over they went through my normal process of if they wanted to purchase images, they could, and quite a few people did. Also, quite a few people didn't as well. It was very much photographing women. It was an interesting experience, because I have very much come from the family kind of wedding background, where it's just a no-brainer, you're going to buy the photos. Whereas I found photographing women in this way has been very much a learning curve.
Yeah. I suppose it's going to be hard to get in your most flattering position when when you swallow water and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that was actually really great was that some of my best work, work that I'm probably the most proud of, some of those shoots, they didn't buy the images. And
interesting.
And I think that's when I go, this is not about me. This is their own stuff coming through, because I know that this is epic, and if that was me, I'd be so happy. So yeah, it's also
And you can't. That's years of therapy to get through that. So that's not a photographer's job, although it feels like it sometimes. But
no, but then I just had to chalk them off to like, hey, thank you very much. I've got some epic work for my portfolio.
Yeah, as long as you leave nothing on the table as far as like, I couldn't have done any better with that. Yeah. And, the client doesn't like them for whatever reason, well then, you've done your best and everything like that. But I suppose in this sense, it was for a project. So
exactly, that wasn't that wasn't the focus. The focus was to have a body of work at the end that I'm incredibly proud of, which I am. So,
oh man, I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product for sure. So yeah, okay. So you gather the people. So that's interesting. You need subjects for a book, especially if it's about people. So I really like how you've shared with the audience how you got the subjects, and then it's just about getting in and scheduling the shoots.
Yeah.
Has the book got words in it, or is it just simply?
Yeah. So I think that was the other part that maybe some of the people didn't realize, because even though all the information was provided up front, I've realized not many people read information given. So yeah, I did make it very clear from the get-go that they were going to be asked questions, and there was a pre-questionnaire. So when they applied, they had to fill in a questionnaire then. And then after the shoot, I got them to fill in another questionnaire, and it was all very much reflective of their story, of how they feel about themselves. So if I was asking deep questions, and I was asking, for them to be open and honest, which I think not a lot of people are in the real world. And I think, social media is very much the highlight reel, and that has irritated me for so long that I was like, this is not going to be a book about pretty pictures. This is going to be like genuine, heartfelt feelings and thoughts and stories, and much, much deeper than a surface value of a photo, which of course is incredible in its own right. But I wanted to have the option of, you can just flick through the pretty pictures if you want to, but there's also something far deeper than that if you want to.
And then, they're just photos that haven't been seen by a lot of people. I know in our world, it feels like everyone's got a water camera now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people that do shoot water, but as a whole, in the general public, a water photo is still pretty special. And I think this book is going to wow a lot of people. Yeah, okay. So we've got words, we've got the models, we've got the shoots done, and then there's so many different ways. I know that you can go to publish a book. You can go to a publisher, I guess, or you can self-publish these days. How did you do it?
Yeah, so I self-published. So I thought about the idea of going to a publisher, which could still be on the cards, but it's not where my passion lay. It was more in the project itself. I did pay a designer to help me with the aesthetics of the book, because that's not my area of expertise, and I didn't want to be stressed with that. So I definitely had help with that. So I guess the process of actually publishing, so the designer that I used had done books before, and I looked at the options of printing overseas in China, I guess, is the cheapest option. And the quality is definitely better than it used to be. But I wanted to have, number one, more time, and not the stress of it arriving back in time with shipping and all that kind of stuff. And also be if I only do one book in my life, a part of the process. And so I chose a local press place in Perth. I'm sure there's more around Australia as well, but this was a local one to me. And it was pretty cool. Last week, actually, I went in, and they I literally saw the plates going through all the different colors, and it coming out the other side. It was like magic. Yeah, it was so cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, cool. So, I would imagine the cost for you would have been is it significantly higher than if you went through the China company or overseas company? Yeah,
absolutely. It wasn't the cheapest option. And I think this is where your commitment to your passion and / yourself like really comes into play, because it's like, would I do this every year? Probably not. But it's like, I wanted to do this once in my life at the very least. And it's kind of like that, that kind of push of like, well, I want it to be a good product that I'm proud of at the end of the day. And obviously the more you print, the cheaper it gets. So it's kind of like one of those things of like, yeah.
How many do I need?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would have loved to have printed more, but yeah, up front, I couldn't front the cost. But I was like, I can always, if it goes crazy, I can always print more. Like,
yeah, is it easy enough to do a rerun? I suppose that, if you can get the numbers right from the start, well, then it's going to be cheaper.
It's definitely better to print more to begin with.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you just like worked, like I'm gathering you selected most of the shots, and then the designer maybe helps you with the order of it, or more just the placement of the text and the...
Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, the designer is a good friend of mine. So we kind of, I chose him because of that, and the fact that he's a great photographer in his own right as well. So I was kind of bouncing ideas of what looks good, and it was very much a enjoyable process of like choosing which photos go in, and the order of things wasn't a particularly significant part of it, because they were all quite different anyway. I tried to make them quite different. But yeah, I guess there was some similarities with certain posing and things like that. So I guess that was probably most of the reason why we moved things around, as if there was anything too similar. But yeah, because I was shooting in lots of different locations, it kind of mixed it up fairly well anyway. So
from here, you've fronted up, I suppose, have you paid the entire amount? And then what percentage of the books, say, do you have to sell over 50% before you make your money, before you pay your bill? Or do you have to, is it 70% or is it 30%? Or a rough, you don't have to give away, but like I just...
No, I think it is about 50%. I think it is 50%. Yeah. So... Yeah. No, I've got a few books to sell yet.
Okay, yeah, you haven't reached that target yet. So it is for sale right now. Yeah, I believe it's like you can get it on your website, or have you got a separate website, or is it on your
It is on my website, Jasmine'sSkyePhotography.com.au. I've got a shop on my website, so that's where it is.
I'll put the direct links below so you can check it out and order it online. I guess they're pre-orders at the moment because it sounds like it's still getting actually made. Is this that?
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be available from the 18th of August is when it's
18th of August
available.
Is when you can buy the first one, and the first one is coming. The book launch is happening in Perth, I believe, and it is happening hand in hand with an exhibition. So you're going to have some of your work hung in an exhibition, and people on the opening night can sneak in there and buy a beautiful book and your prints at the same time.
No, it's very exciting. A lot of work. And exciting to see it all come together.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you've just tapped on so many skills here. You're not just a photographer. It's like, producing a book, working with a designer, organizing a exhibition and an event, I guess, as well.
It feels like I'm organizing a wedding at the moment.
Yeah, so did you have an event organizer for that, or did you just source
I should have, but the budget was thin by this point. I'm definitely getting help on the night, and there's been there's so many cogs in motion at the moment, but it's been incredible.
That'd be amazing. I'd love to. If I could get over to Perth, I would definitely be attending that night.
Wow, thank you.
So
yeah,
cool.
Well, you never know. I might end up doing an East Coast version maybe next year once I've recovered from this.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So you come over the East Coast a lot and offer shoots as well, I believe.
Yes.
Like based in Brisbane at times. And do you using pools, or the water's actually cleared up on the East Coast this winter.
It's been incredible. In Perth, it's been horrible. Over here, I've been very envious of the crystal clear ocean, and it's not even that cold. Like in Perth, it's freezing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I shoot in pools, I shoot in the ocean, I shoot in rivers, like pretty much water bodies. I go there. Yeah, I love it. I love all the different. Sometimes even when the visibility isn't great, like it just adds that moodiness, and it's awesome. So I'm definitely shooting a lot more over here when I come over, which is great. And hope that.
And are you primarily doing water portraits now over your wedding? Are you still doing like weddings and just?
It's still a mix. Yeah, it's still a mix. Obviously, over the last year, my it's definitely been underwater portrait heavy, and over summer, like over a 6-month period, I definitely didn't shoot much else other than underwater because there just wasn't time. So I had to say no to a lot of paid work, which was really hard, but it was like that commitment to the project. But yeah, obviously, since the shooting for that had slowed down, and then I have kind of gone back to more my maternity, newborn, wedding kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a real mix. I'd love to say that I'm only an underwater photographer, but financially I have to also keep it going because it's been a big enough step away from nursing, which I only officially did 2 years ago. So I was doing nursing and photography side by side for about 10 years. So it's been a process to get to this point, and then maybe one day I'll say I'm only an underwater photographer, but I hope that it's a significant part of my business moving forward. That was definitely my aim.
I think it's like I like water photography the best as well, but I think it's still good to have that other, on land sort of aspect. And like with my commercial clients, they appreciate the fact that I can shoot water, but the whole package can't be just all shot from halfway in the water, or under the water. So, expands your portfolio. So I think that even if I was offered, even if the opportunity arose that I just shot every single photo from the water, I think I'd still like to shoot on land as well because, it makes it a bit special. So awesome that you've made it such a big part of your commercial and personal life. And I'm always just amazed by the stuff that you're producing, and I follow your Instagram, and I know you get on there live. I've caught a couple of your lives. Are you still doing your lives on Mondays?
Yeah, I've been pretty focused on the behind the scenes with the book. So I haven't been getting on there as much lately. But I definitely am. I try and show my face as much as possible.
Yeah, that's so cool that you're sharing what you're doing, and the workshops. I think you briefly mentioned the workshops. So is that workshops for the models, or is that workshops for other photographers that are wanting to learn? What's the new workshops?
I've done one underwater workshop, which was for photographers to learn. And I've definitely been getting asked a lot more if I'm doing more in the future, and I probably will be. I'm trying to decide where that will be. So it's tricky. Perth's very far away, so it kind of like makes more sense to do it on the East Coast. But then, I'm still working out logistics. But I'd say I'll definitely be doing more in the future, probably on the East Coast.
That's awesome. There's lots of interest around, and you'd definitely be getting asked a lot of questions with the work that you're doing. So hopefully that goes well for you in the future. I'm sure it will.
Great.
And what is the future for you? Is it just more of the same, or have you got other plans? Have you got, I don't know, let me know.
Well, pretty exciting at the moment. We're in the process of getting a pool put in. So I'm going to have my own home studio, I guess you could say, which is very, very exciting because that was one of the most stressful parts of the project was finding locations to shoot at, and often it kind of, restricted what times were available, and I love shooting in all types of light. So, I'm pretty excited about that. I think more personal work is definitely on the cards. I am setting up a print shop. So that's a part of the exhibition sort of goal, is setting up a print shop and creating art for people's walls is kind of the big dream.
Yeah, it suits it for sure. So yeah, just getting back to that pool thing, because that's an interesting point. Were you just like leaning on friends and people that you knew with pools and stuff like that? That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I hired a lot of pools as well. But yeah, there was definitely a circle of friends that I definitely used, and then there's actually pool hire websites that you can go on and see what's available, and it's just in someone's yard, and you just go in there and it can be a little bit random. But I've also used swim school pools, and I've also used all sorts of.
What are you looking?
It was quite stressful.
What do you look like? I haven't done heaps of underwater portraits in pools, but I've done a fair few shoots. But nothing extensive as yours. But what are you looking for in a pool? I found a friend who had it was almost slate black in the pool, and I thought, this is going to work, because I've got a dark background and it's not going to look all that bluey pool sort of look. Is that are you looking for? You mentioned it before about shallow and deep and everything like that. Then obviously different pools are going to be clearer than others, but are you looking for anything in particular? Is it open air or shaded or?
It's the position of the pool, I definitely was mindful of which way the sun sets. It's going to set over the deep end and things like that, so you can get that epic light at the end of the day over the deep end. In terms of color, I've been umming and ahhing about color. I think I am going to end up with a lighter color, because even though I really love that dark grey kind of contrast color, I think it kind of limits what you then you can always add in a black backdrop, if that makes sense, or whatever colored backdrop, but it's slide but then it's harder to around.
This shoot that I was doing, I actually was using external flash, so I think you were doing lots of natural light shooting.
And I might venture into flash down the track, but I've only ever used natural light so far. So it's one of those things of I think it's good to just have possibilities of what you can do. But definitely having a deep end. I was hoping for 2 meters, but I think it's about 1.8 it's going to be, which is still pretty good. I often shoot a pool that's just over 1 meter deep, so I can make anything work. I think one thing that this project has definitely shown me is you can make anything, any body of water work. I've shown very small pools, and you can. I think that's the beauty of angles, and it can look deep, and it can look like a big space with a little bit of editing. But it's just about knowing where to position yourself and how. And obviously, some colors are much harder to edit out, but kind of got all the presets for all the different colors of pools now. So it doesn't really come to me. But I think, obviously I've worked out what works.
Definitely editing color underwater is a tricky thing. So you're just making your own presets and just say that, that's sort of, that's a green looking pool, so this is a good preset for that. Cool.
Literally named blue pool, green pool.
Simple. That's super cool. It's been epic listening to your process, just with this amazing craft that you've really nailed and are progressing even further with. And I know your pictures are just going to get better and better. They're already super amazing and award winning in my eyes. So I really congratulate you on your work. Love following you, and really look forward to the book launch and the gallery, the exhibition launch. So it should be a cracking month for you next month. And I just thought that I'd get you on today. It's my first podcast or interview or whatever you want to call it that I've ever done. And so many members of the water photography course that I've got are super skillful and creative people with just some amazing visions. So you're the first of a few people that I've got in mind to have an interview with. So hopefully we can keep this rolling. And stoked that you're you were the first cab off the rank. And
Wow.
yeah, so just moving forward, I just want to say, definitely go and check out Jasmine's website, first of all. Follow her on Instagram so you can keep updated. She gives really cool tips and obviously shares her work all the time. And go and buy the book and order the book. And it's going to be shipping in less than a month. So
Exciting. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thanks for coming on today, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.